You've seen fast cars, you've seen expensive cars, but these are the ones that make you stop and ask, why does this even exist? From jet-powered mistakes to designs that look allergic to symmetry, here are the 12 weirdest cars ever built. Number 14, 2006 Rinspeed Splash. If James Bond ever needed a getaway car for a flood, this would be it. Meet the 2006 Rinspeed Splash, a futuristic roadster that could literally transform into a hydrofoil boat and skim across the surface of the water at over 45 miles per hour. Created by Rinspeed, the same Swiss company responsible for the shrinking Presto, the Splash was built to prove that the line between car and boat was purely imaginary. At first glance, it looked like a lightweight open-top sports car, but with a single switch, 2 carbon fiber hydrofoil arms unfolded from beneath the chassis, lifting the entire car out of the water like a mechanical stingray. It was powered by a turbocharged natural gas engine that pushed out about 140 horsepower, enough for highway speeds on land and jet ski speeds at sea. The Splash actually worked. It crossed the English Channel in 2004 during a promotional stunt, completing the 21-mile journey entirely on water. It wasn't just weird, it was borderline science fiction. A car that didn't care about roads, traffic, or gravity, just one that said, if the road ends, keep driving anyway. Number 13, 1942 Oeuf Electrique, the electric egg. In the middle of Nazi-occupied France, an artist named Paul Arzens built what might be the strangest car the world has ever seen, a 3-wheeled, fully electric bubble called the Oeuf Electrique, which literally means the electric egg. Its body was made from curved plexiglass and aluminum, giving it a transparent egg-like shell that made the driver look like a lab experiment on wheels. Inside, it had 3 batteries powering a motor barely strong enough to outpace a bicycle, but it actually worked, and silently too. What made it truly bizarre wasn't just the shape, it was the context. While the world was at war and gasoline was scarce, this little alien-looking pod quietly rolled around Paris emitting no sound and no smoke. It was the future hiding in plain sight in 1942. A car so ahead of its time, it still looks futuristic today. And more importantly, it set the stage for the electric revolution almost 80 years before Tesla was even born. Number 12, 1974 Vanguard Sebring City Car. If a doorstop and a golf cart had a child during the oil crisis, it would be this. The Vanguard Sebring City Car wasn't just weird, it was America's first mass-produced electric car, and it looked exactly like something that should have stayed in math class. Built in Florida in the mid-1970s, this wedge-shaped plastic box came with 2 seats, 3 wheels worth of confidence, and 4 horsepower of pure terror. Its top speed, about 38 miles per hour downhill with wind assistance. The city car's entire body was made from lightweight ABS plastic, the same stuff used in Lego bricks. The idea was to build a simple, affordable EV during the gas shortage. And technically, it worked. Thousands were sold, but driving one was an experience in existential dread. The brakes were questionable, the range barely cracked 40 miles, and the cabin heated up like a microwave oven in summer. Still, for all its weirdness, the city car beat Tesla to market by 30 years and proved that even the ugliest wedge in the world could make history. Number 11, 2001 Rinspeed Presto. Leave it to the Swiss to invent a car that can literally change its size. In 2001, the concept car world stopped and stared when Rinspeed, known for their eccentric prototypes, unveiled the Presto, a vehicle that could physically shrink at the push of a button. When fully extended, it was a small 2-seater roadster, but press the switch and the car's entire body collapsed inward, reducing its length by nearly 3 feet. One moment it was a normal car, and the next, it looked like it was being vacuum sealed by reality itself. The technology behind it was wild, telescoping aluminum rails, hydraulic pistons, and flexible wiring that bent with the chassis. Even the drive shaft adjusted itself mid-motion. Rinspeed claimed it was built for urban flexibility, so you could drive it on highways, then shrink it down to fit in tight city parking, but most people just saw it for what it was, a transformer that traded style for spectacle. Number 10, 1959 Cadillac Cyclone XP74. If aliens had landed in the 1950s and asked, "What's your best work so far?" America would have rolled this thing out. The 1959 Cadillac Cyclone XP74 looked less like a car and more like a personal spaceship with tail fins. Designed under the legendary Harley Earl, the Cyclone was Cadillac's vision of the future, and it was loud about it. The entire front end was shaped like a missile nose cone, complete with twin jet-style air intakes. Instead of bumpers, it had polished aluminum cones designed to absorb impact. And those bubble canopies, they weren't a gimmick. They were fully retractable, tinted for UV protection, and even came with an intercom system so you could talk to pedestrians without opening the doors because rolling down your window was apparently too primitive. But the weirdest feature of all was the radar-based collision avoidance system. Tiny radar sensors in the nose were designed to detect obstacles ahead and automatically alert the driver. It barely worked, but the idea was so ahead of its time it predicted modern adaptive cruise control by decades. The Cyclone was never sold to the public, just a statement piece to prove that Cadillac wasn't building cars anymore. It was building visions of tomorrow. Number 9, 1989 Pontiac Stinger. In the late 80s, General Motors asked a dangerous question. What if your car could also be your kitchen? The answer was the 1989 Pontiac Stinger, a lime green concept car that looked like a Hot Wheels toy and came loaded with features no one ever asked for. Designed as part of GM's lifestyle vehicle experiment, the Stinger wasn't about performance. It was about utility gone wild. Hidden inside the car were removable accessories, a vacuum cleaner, a dustbuster, a flashlight, even a built-in blender in the rear compartment. Yes, an actual blender, because apparently the engineers thought the future was people making margaritas in parking lots. The seats could swivel, the roof panels came off, and the dashboard looked like it belonged in a spaceship designed by Toys R Us. But under the hood, it was just a humble Pontiac Sunfire concept platform with no special performance at all. The Stinger was GM at its weirdest, a company so lost in the future that it forgot what the present needed. It never made it past the auto show circuit, but for one glorious year, Pontiac proved that even the most ridiculous ideas could still earn a spot in automotive history. Number 8, 1994 Mercedes-Benz Vision A93. Before Mercedes built the A-Class you see today, they made something that looked like a cartoon car drawn by a 5-year-old with a ruler. It was called the Vision A93, a concept designed to test how small and safe a car could be without turning into a rolling coffin. The A93 had a weird bubble-like body with a sandwich floor, a double-layered platform that tucked the engine under the cabin instead of in front of it. That way, during a crash, the engine would slide beneath the driver instead of crushing them. Smart? Yes. Pretty? Absolutely not. Its wheels were pushed so far to the corners that it looked like it was about to tip over just standing still. And the stance, tall, narrow, and upright, made it look like a toddler's drawing of a minivan come to life. But here's the wild part. That strange little concept worked. The technology was so effective that Mercedes turned it into the foundation for the production A-Class in 1997, pioneering compact safety engineering. Number 7, 1991 BMW Z1. Most car doors open out, some open up, but the BMW Z1 said, why not make them disappear? Unveiled in the late 1980s, the Z1 looked like a normal roadster until you pressed a button. In one smooth motion, the doors didn't swing or hinge. They slid straight down into the body, vanishing completely into the car's sides like an elevator for metal. It was both genius and madness. The design used complex electric motors, cable pulleys, and guide rails to make the magic happen. You could even drive with the doors fully down, turning the car into an open-sided speed machine. Underneath, BMW engineered it like a science experiment. The body panels were entirely removable, made from thermoplastic, and could be swapped out in hours. The chassis was an innovative steel monocoque tub that made it feel like driving a go-kart with luxury leather seats. Only about 8,000 Z1S were ever made, mostly for collectors who loved the novelty, but those doors became legend, proving that sometimes a little absurdity can open the way to greatness. Number 6, 1969 Dodge Charger Daytona. The late 60s were a war zone, not on the battlefield, but on the racetrack, and Dodge decided to bring a missile to a NASCAR fight. Enter the 1969 Dodge Charger Daytona, a car so extreme it looked more like a fighter jet than a muscle car. It had a 2-foot pointed nose cone, a 23-inch rear wing, and an aerodynamics profile so efficient it broke the sound barrier of reason. It was designed purely for one thing, speed. NASCAR's oval tracks were dominated by Ford and Chevy, so Dodge hired rocket scientists to make a car that would slice the air like a spear. The result? The Daytona became the first NASCAR car to break 200 miles per hour, setting records and terrifying everyone in the pit lane. But when it came to the streets, it was a little too much. The giant rear wing towered above the roofline, blocking rear visibility. The massive nose cone made parking almost impossible. And the general public, they thought it looked ridiculous. Only about 500 were made, just enough for NASCAR's homologation rules. Number 5, 1980 Pininfarina X concept. If you've ever wondered what happens when designers take aerodynamics too seriously, meet the 1980 Pininfarina X, the world's most literal interpretation of the word pointless. Created by the legendary Italian design house Pininfarina, this car was shaped like a razor blade that someone tried to drive. It was so narrow that its front and rear axles weren't even aligned. The rear wheels were offset by about 25 centimeters, forming a perfect X when viewed from above, hence the name. The goal was to reduce drag and improve stability, and somehow, it worked. The X concept had a drag coefficient of just 0.19, better than most cars today, and could reach 125 miles per hour with a tiny 1.3-liter Fiat engine. But what really turned heads was the way it looked in motion. It didn't glide. It sliced through the air like a dart trying to escape Earth's atmosphere. Inside, it seated only 2 people, packed shoulder to shoulder in a glass bubble, with the steering wheel nearly horizontal like an airplane yoke. It was absurd, brilliant, ridiculous. A car that made engineers nod in respect and normal people ask, is that thing even legal? Number 4, 1956 Buick Centurion. When most 1950s cars had chrome, fins, and tailpipes, Buick asked a different question. What if your car could see behind you? Enter the 1956 Buick Centurion, a concept so futuristic it made sci-fi look dated. Its most striking feature was a transparent bubble roof. Yes, an all-glass dome that covered the cabin like a fighter jet cockpit. You didn't just sit in the Centurion, you piloted it. The interior looked straight out of the Jetsons. Bright red seats, sweeping fiberglass panels, and a dashboard filled with blinking lights that did absolutely nothing. But the real innovation was behind the driver, literally. Instead of a rear view mirror, Buick installed a rear-mounted television camera that displayed live footage on a small screen embedded in the dash. In 1956, it was the first car to ever use a rear view camera, almost 40 years before it became standard tech. And while the Centurion never went into production, it planted the seed for features that every modern car now takes for granted. Sure, it looked like a spaceship and probably cooked its passengers under the bubble roof, but as far as weird brilliance goes, the Centurion was way ahead of its orbit. Number 3. 1976 Bond Bug. If confidence could be manufactured, it would look exactly like this car. The 1976 Bond Bug was a bright orange 3-wheeled wedge that looked like something Luke Skywalker would drive to the grocery store. Built by Reliant, the same company famous, or infamous, for the wobbly 3-wheeler in Mr. Bean, the Bond Bug was meant to be a futuristic, affordable sports car for young drivers. Instead, it became one of Britain's greatest automotive punchlines, and somehow also a cult icon. The entire front of the car, windshield, roof, and all, flipped forward like a clamshell to let you climb inside. There were no doors, no trunk, and no dignity if you got out of it in public. Under the hood was a modest 700cc engine pushing out 30 horsepower, barely enough to outrun your own embarrassment. But here's the thing, the Bond Bug didn't care. It owned its weirdness. It was cheeky, unapologetic, and completely impractical, and that's why people loved it. Number 2, 1970 Subaru Ladybug. Not every weird car looks like a spaceship. Some look like they just escaped a children's cartoon. Meet the Subaru 360 Custom, affectionately nicknamed the Ladybug. Built during Japan's post-war K-car boom, this tiny machine was designed to be light, affordable, and economical. What no one expected was how adorably strange it would turn out. Its round headlights looked like eyes, the curved fenders resembled wings, and the smiling grille gave it the face of a cheerful bug on wheels. But beneath that innocent grin was, well, not much. The Ladybug was powered by a 2-cylinder, 356cc engine, producing a terrifying 25 horsepower on a good day. Top speed, maybe 60 miles per hour, downhill, with a tailwind. Still, it won over Japan's heart. The Ladybug became a cultural icon, symbolizing freedom for families who'd never owned a car before. It wasn't fast or flashy, but it was friendly, and that charm turned it into one of the most beloved oddities in automotive history. Number 1, 1966 Peel Trident. If you ever wanted to experience what it's like to drive inside a snow globe, the 1966 Peel Trident was your chance. Built on the Isle of Man by Peel Engineering, the Trident was essentially a follow-up to the infamous Peel P50, the world's smallest car. But where the P50 was just tiny, the Trident was tiny and bizarre. It featured a fully transparent acrylic dome canopy that hinged open like a fighter jet's cockpit, sealing the driver and passenger inside a bubble barely larger than a bathtub. The whole car weighed under 200 pounds and ran on a 49cc scooter engine. That's right, about as much power as a leaf blower. From the outside, it looked like something that rolled out of a science fiction cartoon. From the inside, it felt like you were sitting in a greenhouse during a heat wave. There was no ventilation, no trunk, and no dignity when you climbed in. Yet somehow it worked. The Peel Trident could reach a blistering 28 miles per hour, and for city commuters in the 1960s, it promised cheap mobility and guaranteed stares.